Hi, everybody. Welcome back to College Writing. We are in week 2, and I wanted to touch base with you before we get too far into this second week. Let me introduce you to my dog, Tigger, back there. That's his spot that he's given himself on the bed, so you'll probably see him in future videos because he's pretty much always there. I wanted to let you know, first of all, you guys did a great job on your first assignments. You did that brainstorming assignment, you wrote a thesis sentence, and then you read those essays and responded to them. Regarding the brainstorming and the thesis sentence, brainstorming is just a great skill and habit to get into when you're writing anything, especially any school essays that you're going to be doing for Moody. But then if you continue on, you decide to get your master's, you'll be writing a lot. It's always a good idea to brainstorm. And I'm not so much concerned about the style. If bubbles work well for you, great. If you're more of a list person, that's great too. Whatever works well for you. But the whole point of it is to help you to stay focused on one main idea. So when you're brainstorming, there should really be, let's say you're using the bubbles, your main idea should be right in that one bubble, and that will be what becomes your thesis sentence. And then all of the other bubbles that come out of that, if you're listing, it would be the subpoints, are going to support that main bubble. So if you have a number of main topics, so in this case, you've been asked to write an essay on one event that impacted your faith journey. If you have 5 main events that pretty much tell your whole faith story, that's not exactly what the prompt is asking you for. It's asking you to identify one thing and then tell us the story about that one thing. So think back to Langston Hughes' essay about the little boy who was sitting in church and all of the singing and worship and swaying and all that energy that was going on, and how he felt very pressured to make a decision for Jesus and was thinking that he was going to literally see him. That probably took place over 1 or 2 hours of his entire life. It was a little blip in his spiritual journey. We don't know how it ended up, but in that case, it wasn't very positive for him. But he described in that essay that one event. And so that's what you want to do, is just identify one thing and then tell us that story. So everything should support that one thing. Your thesis sentence should be what is going to summarize your whole essay. It's not a question, and I don't think I saw anybody write a question, so that's good. You want it to be a statement. It can be 1 or 2 sentences. If you've got 2 or 3, just look at it, and I may have commented on when I graded your work this week. If you've got, let's say, 2 or 3, you can see if maybe you can tighten it up and combine it into one, and I gave you some ideas. In the hard copy of this announcement, I gave you one particular example where I also asked you to work on removing words and phrases that you don't really need in your thesis sentence, like I believe or I think, or the event that impacted me the most was. You don't need to tell us that. You just need to state your thesis. So here's an example. I believe the event that had the biggest impact on me was when my sister went into the hospital and almost died. For the first time in my life, I believed Jesus was real. Now, this isn't a bad thesis sentence. It definitely tells us, what the main idea of her essay or his essay is going to be, that this event was the first time that this person realized, oh, maybe there is a God. But it can be tightened up. And so taking off the I believe the event that had, you can just eliminate that whole thing and say, for the first time in my life, when my sister went into the hospital and almost died, I believe Jesus was real. So look at your thesis and just ask yourself, if I take off certain words, I believe, I think, is that going to strengthen your thesis? And it most likely will. You can also, like I did in this case, you can combine sentences to make it 1 or 2. You really shouldn't have a whole paragraph for a thesis sentence. It should be 1 at the most 2. Okay, so let's move on to week 2. Now this is a little bit different. of a week as far as deadlines. You probably have seen that. In that you're doing a rough draft and then a second draft. And that second draft is actually what your discussion post is. And the deadline for that, according to Moody, is Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. So you're going to want to get that second draft into the discussion board tonight before midnight. And then you're going to be responding to 2 student essays by Sunday night. So make note of those deadlines. They are a little bit different, but you'll respond to 2 classmates' essays, their second drafts, that they submit. And Moody calls it upstream, downstream. If you've been with Moody online courses, this is familiar to you. It just basically means the person above you on the list of names and the person below you. So let me know if you have any problems with that. And then you're going to submit your final draft by Monday at 11:59. Now, I'm going to be trying to look at these rough drafts too, to make comments on them. That will help. But I really want you guys in your responses to the student essays to make some constructive criticism. Don't just say, hey, your essay sounds great, and sign off. Your job is to help them revise. You want to give them constructive criticism in love, and things that will really benefit them, especially as you start looking for ways that you can enhance the language, use more adjectives to make the story come alive. If you see areas where maybe they could add something, you can suggest those things, but we just want to be really careful with our words. I think that's about it. If you have any questions, please text or email me. And I'm looking forward to reading your essays. All of the topics were great, and I think that every one of you has something that you will be able to write about, hopefully with not too much trouble. So anyway, good job, and I think that's about it. Have a good weekend. Bye.